We have guests joining us. Martin Kpebu is on the phone, Kofi Bentil as well, both lawyers. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Kojo. Morning.
Yeah,
morning to Raymond and Mamavi.
Yeah, so several developments since yesterday, and I'm very interested to hear your views on this. We'll start with Martin, if that's okay.
Okay. Oh, yesterday was what? Black Thursday. Oh, yeah. Yesterday was a big retrogression in our march towards a better democracy. I can't believe it. The police were absolutely lawless. Lawless. I mean, what was the basis for the arrest? People you sought to prevent from demonstrating at the Jubilee House. If you could gather 500 policemen to come and cause arrest, why wouldn't you provide security for them to demonstrate there? You see, the main point is that, you see, once the police say, they claim they've taken the case to court, then it didn't lie within their mass to do a preemptive strike. No, the matter you are talking about is before the court. You say you filed an application for injunction. So there is also an obligation on the police not to do anything to render the proceedings a nullity. So that's why the remedy would have been that, look, if they flout the application for injunction, and in law, I subscribe in this case to the view that once you are served, you have to stop, right? That's the school I belong to. They call it ex parte Mofat, and there are other cases that support it. There are other people in practice. When it's a big government project, like you see the E-levy one, they ignored it and went ahead. And we all know that usually the court will be slow to interfere. So when it's a big public matter, usually that principle doesn't appear to work in practice. But in this one, if there was evidence, you would say that it's likely a court would punish for contempt if you were served. So the police had to gather their evidence and then file an application for contempt, but not to arrest. That subsequent barefaced lie or wrong law that they are doing on lawful assembly is wrong. That unlawful assembly can't apply in this case. Could you why? Look at the Public Order Act. That was what both parties were using. And the procedure is instated there. You say they should amend their location, okay, the venue, etc. If they don't, the next thing under Section 1 of the Public Order Act, it says go to court. So if you've gone to court and somebody appears to be violating it, then you go and apply for contempt. So naturally, although there's also the other side of law and order. So if they were to do anything that was untoward, causing damage to property or begin to commit any offense, then that one you would arrest and say, look, you are damaging property, you are doing X, Y, Z. But this one, like they themselves admit, it's like they've just led themselves to the slaughter, preemptive strike. In which democracy? Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. Oh, the police have goofed. They've goofed. You see how Ghanaians were just too quick to loud IDP, Dampari, just because of Hassan North. One incident. You see the next time he's just retrogress our democracy. See how they beat Bridget Otu, Vanessa Boateng, and then lawyer Roxon. It is bad. Yesterday was just Black Thursday. So the police are wrong on the law. That preemptive strike doesn't apply here. It doesn't. If you want to arrest, the law says that unreasonable suspicion of what? Having committed an offense. Where is the reasonable suspicion? Where is the offense that they've committed? No. So the context of the court case nullifies everything the police sought to do yesterday. They were just acting lawlessly. Ghana Police Service was just lawless. IGP Dampare just lost it. It just showed that it's just, his initial showmanship. It was just a matter of time, and then he will show his colors that, look, he's working for corrupt Akufo-Addo. That's all that it was. Let me protect corrupt Akufo-Addo so that my position will also be protected. That's all that Dampare just sought to do. You think, no, when Ghanaians, I keep saying that when Dampare came, people were just shouting, hey, new sheriff in town, new sheriff. I said, I'll wait. I'll just wait. Now you see how the chips are falling. That's what it is.
Kofi, I want to bring this other aspect in. The police from the very beginning said that Jubilee House is a security zone. So they were never going to go along with the plan of the protesters to go and camp there. They were never going to agree to that. So, really, I mean, even though it looks like the thing has gone off the rails at this point, did the protesters also perhaps not take the best approach by insisting that they wanted to demonstrate at a security zone?
Well, Kojo, my view is that the right to protest is such a fundamental right that it is not anybody's business to talk about what place is a security zone or what place is not, as long as it is a public space. And I think there should be a different approach to that. And I'm speaking as somebody who is aware that if you go to places like the White House or whatever it is, you can go and protest in front of their gate. So I can understand that the seat of government or Jubilee House, they will say it's a security zone. But my view is that the citizen owns that space. So, operationally, and I don't mean to advise the police, if you think it's a security zone and the person says, I'm going to demonstrate there, and it's a public space, which it is, then you go and put your men there, let them sit there, so that both of you will occupy that space. Okay? And then people don't commit a crime, because if you commit a crime, that's a different matter. But there should be no space that is public, that is out of bounds to a citizen who owns that space. We need to understand this thing about, the rights of a citizen, what it means to be a citizen, inalienable rights, constitutions and constitutionality. We need to understand these things. People should not just think that, we have a right to give you this or not to give you this. These are God-given rights. Nobody is a Ghanaian more than anybody. And the rights of the citizen are above the rights of an office holder, including the president and including the IG. So, it is a security zone, yes, but if it is my house, if it is a private space, if it is your house, you can exclude your perimeter from me coming there to do a demonstration. Okay, but I can stand on the street. If I am disturbing in your house, you can take action against me. But if it is public space, you can't tell me it's a security zone. Then go and occupy that space. I will occupy whatever other space is left. And as long as I don't commit a crime, you should leave me. To that extent, therefore, it should be possible for people to sit in front of the Jubilee House in protest because it's public space, as long as they don't commit a crime. Okay, so in principle, as an activist, as a lawyer, I disagree with that designation of public space. And anyone saying I will not allow somebody or they will not allow somebody to use or be at that space for a protest, that right to protest in a public space is a fundamental right, and nobody should take it away.
Right. Now, the police also say that, look, they served the notice on the lawyers who had been identified by the protesters as the lawyers representing them on this matter of protest. Surely, from their perspective, that is good service. But tell us, what is legally good service and what isn't, Martin?
So when we unrealize, sometimes we try to communicate.
And one small comment.
Hello.
The White House thing.
Hello.
Yeah, can we hear from
People have
Martin
been
first?
demonstrating in front of the White House for centuries. So, I've been to White House. I've seen demonstrators there with my own eyes. Who says they don't?
Recently, it has been cordoned off since the Capitol Hill incident. So recently, it's been cordoned off. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you do at a distance. So that's what we've been talking about. So say, okay, maybe 50 meters or 100 meters, but you can't say it's an absolute no. For because a century, White House, just look, even apart from seeing it with my eyes, there is an see pictures. People, and they're driving a democratic such as ours. This is the time we need such protest. You see people in front of the White House. So if we also have to go through ours. Okay, so back to the service. Under the law, okay, usually you serve the person. But in this case, if police claim, I want to take a very practical, stance on this matter. Because you see, under the Criminal Procedure Act that we use, this particular one, we don't have an express provision that if the person says, serve it on my lawyer, we don't have one. The one that's closed doesn't apply in this case. So let me not even go there. So we have the Criminal Procedure Act. Now, so it doesn't apply. Now you go to the Public Order Act. It also doesn't say so. There are other laws. They all don't apply directly in this case, directly. And for lawyers, we use court decisions as a reference point to advise. So I want to be practical here. If there is a letter in writing that serve it on our lawyers, let the police produce it. That's one. Then two, if they went and served Atuguba and Associates, okay, show the evidence. Look, Kojo, this is how it works. There are people who are called process servers, or bailiffs, so just bailiffs simply. So when the bailiff goes to serve, there is a form he has to fill in, or call it a report. That's just one page. And then the registrar has to stamp it. So when this matter started, because of the public interest of this thing, the police have lawyers. If their lawyers are up to scratch, you just rush to the registry. And trust me, because this is a very serious national matter, even on a Saturday, the registrar would have come back to the office to show to get them the evidence. So to the extent that police haven't showed us evidence of service, we can't go with the police, because this is the other police service that, as recent as how many years ago, they killed 7 citizens in Asawasi and labeled them armed robbers. Killed another person in Kranza, labeled them an armed robber, innocent citizens. Botiano 9, just this year, killed 9 of our fellow citizens. You see, so a police service that is driven to killing innocent citizens recklessly. You see, and then I hear there's another one, Damangu, related to a certain minister. The young men were abducted because they stole money from a minister. So we are here to hear what's happening of it. So for a police service that's killing citizens, please, until I see the paper evidence that they serve the lawyers, we can't go with them. And they should know, this is basic. You should know that, look, the public doesn't really trust you. The public really doesn't trust you. So for things like this, where there should be documentary evidence, show it. So on that score, I can't go with the police service. They should know.
So in your view, if there is evidence that the lawyers were served, that would be good service?
Yes, because the basis is that they themselves said, yes, serve my lawyers. And as I said it would be good because I don't see any law directly prohibiting that. As I said, all the laws that come close, I don't want this to become a lecture. They don't directly apply here. So if you are the one affected and you get up and say, go and give it to my lawyer, to be practical, because sometimes the law too must be practical. Until there's a decision saying that it is wrong, I would go with a practical solution. And sometimes you go to even the Supreme Court, this service thing, they do it. They do it. Look, you'll be a lawyer. I've been in cases. You'll be a lawyer in the matter. The thing should have been brought to you. You go and give it to your client. You go and then you want to raise it. Oh, my Lord, but the process shows that I'm the lawyer. How did you give it to the client outside the jurisdiction? They won't even mind you. So there's the practical aspect of it. So that's why they say that the life of the law is not logic, but it's experience. So there is that thing. So the police should have furnished that evidence. If they come now, it's too late, because we've already made the argument. They should have known that there is a trust deficit. So they should have gone for the evidence a long time ago, from Friday, when Oliver and Co started denying. That was when they should have quickly gone. Even midnight, this type of thing, registrar and the bailiff would have come to give them the evidence if it was true.
Right. We must apologize to our audience. We are not bringing you the BBC News today because we're sticking with this conversation. It's very important. We're talking to Kpebu and Kofi Bentil about the 49 people who were arrested yesterday before they could start the Occupy Jubilee House protests. The police, the regional command picked them up, and they were kept until evening when they were released, one of them on bail. Today at 10 o'clock they'll be meeting with the IGP. But we're figuring it all out, trying to understand what happened, what went wrong, and what could have been better. Kofi, I noticed you had wanted to say something about this issue of good service. Do we still have Kofi Bentil?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, yeah.
Right. So I thought you were asking me the question about the
good service. Yes, I noticed you wanted to say something about that. Please go ahead.
Yes. I was simply going to say that, look, on every level, police is wrong on that. And we don't want to give a law lecture on radio, but the bottom line is that even if somebody tells you that this is my lawyer, people must understand this. You can have 100 lawyers. When the person says, Kojo is my lawyer, that may be general. If the person files a case, if I file a case in court and I've told you already that Kojo is my lawyer, I can file a case in court and use a different lawyer. So the courts require that the lawyer on record, the one who appears for you in that particular matter, is your lawyer on that matter. So the police are wrong on so many levels, but just not to have a long, lecture on, radio, we are just trying to explain that they couldn't have said, we serve the people you told us were your lawyers, okay, in this particular matter. You should serve the people who are their lawyers, who appear for them. However, they have a small defense because they would have represented some other person as their lawyer. Now, that defense, even though it is persuasive, is not conclusive. And like my colleague said, they have lawyers, and their lawyers can explain these things to them. All that being said, again, that point alone cannot override the fundamental human rights of citizens to protest. So when you put it all together, we all know that this is an excuse that the police were trying to use and basically proceeded to abuse the rights of these citizens. So on that specific issue, it has been canvassed, it has been explained, they were wrong, and they shouldn't have, on the strength of saying we served the lawyers you mentioned, go ahead to abuse their rights the way they did.
Right. I mean, is there a way forward? The IGP is meeting with these the protesters today at 10 o'clock. But, I mean, the date on which they wanted to protest is passed. The venue they wanted to protest at is not available to them. So, I mean, is there really a way forward here? Or by the police actions, have they completely robbed these protesters of their rights? Martin?
Okay. Yeah, naturally, there should be a way out. Originally, yes, it was supposed to be yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right? So the police can meet protesters half of the way, okay? So let's get a middle road. Yeah, and I will be going with them to go and support. Yesterday we went there. So what we should be looking at is that, like I mentioned earlier, can we have a solution in such a way that if some protesters would come up to a certain distance, so like the way you're saying, 5,000 now cauldron of up to a certain distance, but there should be a view so that when journalists come and they are covering the proceedings, you can see the Jubilee House in the background. That one is not negotiable. It can't be that Jubilee House is totally cauldroned off. You can't get the cameras showing Jubilee House in the background. If that is the thing, then IGP Dampare is not up to scratch. He can't do this job. He can't. If he can't guarantee that we protest in such a manner that we have Jubilee House in the background. No, so you can negotiate. Okay, 100 protesters, maybe 50 meters away, 100 meters away, then here is the Jubilee House behind, and the protest will go on. The rest of the people, no, stay off maybe another distance. That should be rigged. It must happen. 2014, when the Occupy Flagstaff House guys were hours, they were sitting in front of Jubilee House, and the police protested them. So what has changed? We are expecting that we move on. We are expecting that we make progress, not retrogress. So there certainly should be a way out. It can't be a total blackout that protesters should go to Black Star Square. No. It must be Jubilee House. This country belongs to all of us. If President Kufado had led honestly, if he hadn't riddled himself with corruption, he himself on his own table, that fumigation contract between him and Just One Group, Zoom Lion, over 500 million Ghana cedis. If he hadn't done that, if he hadn't swerved Ejako, the former energy minister, and then took him out of the loop and asked Gabi to negotiate the Ameri deal. That one that brought them a big embarrassment. The one they inflated the contract and then they were caught. If he hadn't done so, all these things wouldn't have happened. So these are ones that he's personally involved. Then there are those that of his ministers, his Paris money, the other ministers. And where is OSP? Listen, we are still calling for a search of all the ministers. All the ministers, they must be searched. Because look, if Dapa had such money in her house, what do you think the rest of the ministers also will have? That would be more, especially those who control the purse of this country. So OSP has to search all of them. Let's recover all the money so that they're poor. Because look, this is a very serious matter. Over 3 million of our citizens live on less than $1.90 a day. That's maximum 24 Ghana cedis. Somebody says he gives his wife chop money 10 cedis a day. 10 cedis, 10 cedis may not even buy you a snack. But that is what somebody gives his wife or his family as chop money. And the Kufado and people are spending all this money. So as for this demonstration, look, IGP Dampare, if to make sure that he really earns our respect, he must make this thing come on. He should reduce the numbers. But as for the demo, it has to come on. Ghana doesn't belong to Dampari and Kufuor alone. No, it belongs to all of us, 32 million citizens. So we must negotiate that this demonstration comes on.
Kofi, I think I'll wrap with you. I mean, you have been on a demonstration that ended at Jubilee House. Back then it was Flagstaff House. I remember, when a few of the demonstrators stepped out of line and they got arrested. I saw you jump into the vehicle with them to accompany them, when they were arrested. So there are some who suggest that, look, the police are only being consistent. That if it has not been approved that you demonstrate in a certain way, the police just cannot allow for you to do it.
No, that's wrong. And we need to continue to hit that point until it sinks into the heads of the people we employ, whether we put them in uniform or we put them in Flagstaff or Jubilee House. It is wrong for you to try to step on the rights of citizens who pay you, who put you in office, and tell them they cannot exercise a fundamental right to protest us and give you feedback about what they feel about your governance. So the president is wrong. The ministers who are resisting this are wrong. The IGP is wrong. The police is wrong. I am somebody who is normally on the side of the police. And it's regardless of the fact that they have beaten me before and we've had all these scuffles, and we have all our issues. But I say, Ghana police is not one of the, bad ones, at least in the sub-region. But once in a while, they make these terrible mistakes. And usually it is because they deploy their force in the protection of the politicians in office. When you do that, you lose the people. When you lose the people, the politicians will use you and abuse you. You need to have the backing of the people. So I speak to everybody who is in police, especially in leadership, that don't lose the people. Do not lose the people on the specific issue. There will never be a day when the public space is not space that you can protest at. And it will never be right for the police to try and impose on any demonstrator a particular space they should go and demonstrate at. So the Jubilee House is not out of bounds. What they can do is what we have said. If people tell you we are going to protest at the Jubilee House, go and cordon off a portion of the area. Put your men there and make sure they can go there. But do not stop them and say you cannot go there. That is not your right. It is not for you to say, I am going to grant you permission or not grant you permission to go there. It is our right, which is guaranteed in the Constitution, to go there. But we don't have a right, for instance, to go and commit crimes there. So we can be there, not in Independence Square or any other place. The only way forward is to obey the law. And it's for the police to also obey the law. Just let people protest, let them know where their rights and limits are, and let them stay within it. If they cross those rights or cross those limits, then you can arrest them. And even that, do it according to law. And if we all obey the law, we'll be better off. Ironically, when they do these things, they give extra life to these demonstrations. I remember when we were doing Doom Summer Stop. I was the main lawyer and I was the main organizer. Okay, we were just going to march a short distance from A to B. And we kept getting resistance from police, resistance from chiefs, resistance from the university, resistance. Every day there was new resistance. Each day you give resistance, you give extra life to the demonstration. We have one of the biggest demonstrations ever. And when they stopped us from going to Jubilee House, that was the news. Okay, when I jumped into that car, if you arrest somebody, do that thing as a matter of law. This business of thinking you are going to protect the people in power today and you are going to breach the law to do that in defense or in protection of whatever you are doing, these politicians have no allegiance to anybody or loyalty to anybody. They only want to protect themselves. And so if you have any office, know that that office is a public office for use for the defense and for the benefit of the citizens of this country, not for anybody. So for me, the way forward is allow them to go and have their demonstration. You can put 1,000 men there to make sure they do not commit any crime or do anything that is unlawful. So basically for me, that is it.
I'm going to push you for a quick yes or no. The protesters intend to return today. Will you advise them against it?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Activists are the best of our kind. They should go ahead and demonstrate. It is for our good.
Okay. Martin, quick yes or no from you. Same question.
No, I'll not advise them against it.
I thank you both for your time with us this morning. Martin Kpebu and Kofi Bentil, both very well-known Ghanaian lawyers, speaking on the issue of the arrests of about 49 people yesterday before they could start the Occupy Jubilee House demonstration. Ray.
If I take the view that the conduct of the police is terrible, it's not in tandem with the laws of this country, what happens to the police? If I take the view that the police misconducted themselves yesterday and actually acted not in tandem with the laws of this country, should I sue them? Will there be an independent commission that's not looking into rumors or idle gossip, but rather spending quality time reviewing a system that allows people pre-protest time, merely standing at, and they reach the point. You've heard the story of that basketball player, right? A gentleman in a Marcus Garvey shirt, prepared to go play basketball, who was equally bundled as part of the people who were who were to be arrested and added to the team. Because the shirt was it black or red. So at the time, you in your black shirt right now would have been, of course, what you're wearing also kind of looks like
people
military.
Speaking to Maxwell Agbagba when they were picked up.
Yes, so you could have been easy target for a protest that is yet to begin. So that's what I'm asking. If it is the people's wish, we pay the police, we put it together, we actually give them arms, we give them powers in the laws that we have given them. If we insist that they have flouted these laws, who will crack the whip on them? Would they be decent enough to show that headsman's role in that institution, to show this cannot be repeated? But this is the Republic of Ghana. We have not shown examples of that happening in any way. And I think that we are getting to a level where most of us agree on this one. Because I've seen key MPP members like the Director of Communications equally condemn the act. And he said that the police had no business touching the people. He disagreed with the naming of the demonstration, which is to me a tangential point. But the substantive matter of the arrest and the engagement that happened, he condemned it too. So who are the defenders of the police in this particular act? And if we are against the conduct, can we hold them accountable for it?
Right.
The officers can be named individually. Their command can be established, and it's not a zoo. Can we insist that these people are taken on so that it's not repeated? This does not even require a commission to go into.
Absolutely.
It's a very direct one. Because we've seen these things happen. Tomorrow, you may be told, but for the videos we had there, that it didn't happen at all. And Latif's incident comes to mind 100%. So if we are going to have lawless police, then who will police the laws?
Absolutely. So, recently when the IGP appeared before the committee that was probing the incident in Parliament, he marched all his command, his men, and to show that, they support his leadership and he was in charge and he was in control. One of the things he said at that appearance was the fact that he had learned from previous IGPs, the mistakes, the challenges, and he's worked on it. He gave us all the impression that this was a better leadership than what we had experienced in the past. And I think yesterday was an absolute failure because we've heard from the lawyers, we've heard from lots of people. I mean, you can't say that you're preventing a certain act that even with the injunction, it is not something that has even been granted to you. This is an application that has not even been moved. So if somebody, you think that somebody is going to do something, that's intelligence you've picked up, right? And I think Martin and
the
Kofi
same
Bentil
route
said
of communication was tell them, don't go there.
Exactly.
Don't you dare go there.
And if you have really learned from 2014, because you gave us the impression that you've learned from the challenges of previous leaders of the police, then you would know, or you would have known, that in that instance, that demonstration that was just referred to, Occupy Flagstaff House, the people were actually eventually allowed. So there was a lot of back and forth, but eventually they were allowed. So how is this an improvement of 2014? I think we should think about it. How is this an improvement? Yesterday's incident, an improvement of 2014. That's where I think this was a total failure of leadership, and we cannot distinguish that command was different and communication was different. I think that's just the simple place that I'm coming from. Everything should be on the leadership. That's it. He went to Parliament and he told us that he was in charge. So you can't now come and tell us that this was a regional command operation we don't even need it. It's not necessary for us.
All right. Now, for me, I think yesterday 500 police officers, according to eyewitnesses, turned up with guns to stop 49 people before they could even start a protest. Now, maybe we should pay attention to this. If tomorrow 5,000 people turn up to protest,
Would they be enough, man?
all right. So maybe the police need to start thinking that the more you try to suppress something, the worse you make it. And it will get to a point where you will not be in a position to impose your control over people who are exercising their rights.